It's great having you with me today on Paint a Beautiful Picture. This is episode 113, Actively Listening. Do you know how many people actively listen? They estimated that it's only 2 to 3%. Wow, did you hear that one? Because what that means is 97 to 98% of the people with whom you talk aren't actually listening to you. I don't know about you, but that's a discouraging statistic. Let me tell you, your child is sitting here trying to tell you all about their day. Oh, Daddy, you should have seen it. I saw the most beautiful butterfly. It was really amazing. I was at school and there was this little frog and he jumped across the sidewalk. And you're like, in your mind, you're going, and I need to deal with this account and I've got to take care of making these telephone calls. You are not actively listening. I mean, are you all that fascinated by the idea of a frog and a butterfly? But your child is. You need to learn how to actively listen to your child. I'm going to explain why. Many times when people talk to us, we're checked out. We're so preoccupied with our own thoughts. Certain people are very preoccupied with what they're going to say in response to one trigger word or one trigger sentence in a paragraph. So they miss most of what the other person said and they start addressing the thing that they wanted to address because this is where their head was. They were not actively listening. They were actively thinking about their own point. There are lots of detractors that get in the way of us actively listening. Sometimes because what the person is telling us is flat out boring. Sometimes because of the person who's talking to us, they have poor intonation and there's no variance in their tone and there is nothing interesting about listening to them and we are bored out of our minds. And I'm sure all of us have had conversations with people like that. It's just not very cool trying to actively listen to that. Sometimes we're just preoccupied. We have a lot of other things going on in our inner world and, frankly, in our outer world. And it's very hard to just listen to this person. Even though we love them and we want to make the investment, it's difficult to do it. And so, let me help you a little bit. The most amazing person in your child's life is you. That's a fact. Their mom or their dad, that is the coolest person they know. If they're 10 or 12 and you aren't the coolest person they know, that's because you haven't fostered that kind of a relationship with them. But when they are 2 or 3 or even 4, you really are the coolest person they know. If you haven't been abusive and an absolute wretch to them, there is nobody that they love like you. And frankly, even if you have been abusive or acted like a wretch, you still might be the most amazing person they know because kids are loyal and faithful. You better monopolize on this while you can. So, actively listening involves eye contact. You are directly looking at them. You are not on your phone going, okay, hold, That's not actively listening. That's actively ignoring. Don't tell me, oh, I'm listening, because I know you're not, and you're lying to me, and I'll call you on it. Your child, they can't really do that. Put the phone down and look at them in the eyes. It often involves leaning forward, body language. You're like this. You're not actively listening. Actively listening means being fully engaged with the person that is speaking. It means concentrating on the words they are saying as well as the underlying meaning. Because sometimes we don't say exactly what we mean, not even as adults, and certainly not children. They might not even have all that language yet. You're not thinking about what you're going to say. You're not taking it apart. You are taking it in. You are actively listening. You are fully engaged. Oh, and you're paying attention to your emotional response or responses. So when they say, oh, Daddy, my friend's dog died. Wow, that is very sad. I bet your friend is really sad. Yes, I'm sad too. I bet you are, because I know how much you love your friend. I bet you feel sad for your friend too. You could go, okay, I could never imagine having this conversation. I really can't. And then I want to ask you, do you really want your child talking to you when he or she is 14 or 15 or 16 about what's going on in their heart? Because if you do, and most of us do, then you better learn how to listen now while they're little. And it might just be a teeny bit boring to you, but the investment is going to pay off with huge, massive dividends when they're a little bit older than this. So learn to actively listen right now. My question for you today is, am I a good active listener? Because if you are not, I want to encourage you to begin to develop this skill immediately. Immediately, no matter what age your child is, even if that child is a baby. Listen actively to your spouse. Listen actively to your parents and your friends and your family members and your coworkers, in order that you will be capable by that time when your child is 2 or 3 or 4 and ready to tell you his or her thoughts and ideas, that you are ready to be an active listener. When you are actively listening, you are learning. It's inevitable. You can't help it, okay? And you are learning about your child. Your child is not a carbon copy of you. And frankly, they're not a carbon copy of your mate. When that sperm and that egg came together, a very unique individual who will never, ever occupy the earth again was formed. That's the most beautiful and amazing human you'll ever see, your own child. I really believe that. I feel the exact same way about my grandchildren as I did about my sons. I have spent my entire life intimately getting to know them by actively listening because I just think they're amazing. Do they bug me sometimes? Yes, they do. Have they ever disappointed me? Oh, great Scott! Yes, they have. And yet, they're the most amazing human beings I've ever known. And I endeavored to know them extraordinarily well. And that meant actively listening to them. I have such creative sons. It is wild. And they are so unlike each other. My grandfather was an American Indian. My son is very dark and has black hair and can hardly grow any beard because he doesn't have much facial hair. My other son has flaming red hair, is pale-faced and freckled, has blue-gray eyes, and the biggest, bushiest red beard you ever saw. They are the same height, but one of them outweighs the other one by over 100 pounds. One of them is skinny as a pole, and one of them is a big, jolly guy. And don't worry, their personalities are as unalike as their bodies. They're fascinating. Oh, and they're both my kids. I was awake when they were born. People have asked me that. Are you sure those are your kids? Yeah, I'm dead positive. I was awake, screaming my guts out. I saw them both come out. They're mine, believe you me. They're so amazing. They really are incredible people. I know this because I invested the time and energy in actively listening to them throughout their lifetimes. I still actively listen to them now. They're still developing and changing, and they are still really amazing people. It's a great endeavor getting to know and discovering the individuality of your child. For that to happen, you need to be paying attention and you need to be actively listening. I hardly know anything as fun or as rewarding as when one of my sons or one of my grandsons truly shares their heart with me. Whether they're sharing their heart with me about something which they perceive of as good and positive, or whether they're sharing their heart with me about something that is frustrating and challenging and difficult. Both of those parts of themselves, as they share it with me and as they talk freely with me, it's just an absolutely amazing thing. And if I had not invested in actively listening to me when they were, or pardon me, I misspoke, in actively listening to them when they were little, chances are they wouldn't have any reason to speak to me now. Because why would they? I don't care anyway. You are demonstrating to your child day after day after day how important they are to you. If you're constantly here, you are demonstrating to them they're not very important. If you are constantly preoccupied, I need to take care of this for work. I've got to go get this. I need to do this. I can't do this right now. You're demonstrating to them they're not very important to you. You have to devote time because all relationships take time, an investment of time and energy. That's the truth. There's just no other option. And a part of that time is not just doing stuff, not just running around and, being a chicken with your head cut off, getting them to all these things and doing all these things. It is actively listening. Let me give you a few suggestions. One is eat breakfast together. In the morning, you want to hear what's going on with them. I'm really scared about this test today, Mom. I really like this girl, Dad, but I don't know how to talk to her. I want to do this today, but I'm kind of scared about it. Like, I need to talk to my friend. He was really mean to me yesterday. This bully at school, he's been really pushing me around and saying bad words to me, and I'm really scared he's going to actually beat me up one of these days, and I don't even know what to say. If you're not sitting at breakfast with them, you're missing an awful lot because there's a whole lot going on with them. So you need to sit down and actively listen. You need to do it when they get home from school. I understand a whole lot of you are working. I'm not confused about that. But if you aren't, those first 15 to 30 minutes when they get home from school, those are yours, and make sure that they are. Have a snack ready. Much of the time, I'd have warm cookies or something like that for my kids. They would walk in that door, they would sit down, they would eat a peanut butter sandwich, they would have carrots and celery with peanut butter and raisins, they'd eat a hot cookie, they would talk to me. I heard about their day, about what happened, about what they got excited about what was a problem for them. I listened actively that little while there. At dinner time, that's a familial time. They need to learn how to have a conversation as well as how to be quiet, and they can actively listen. So when you share with your spouse how your day went and they share with you how theirs went, the kids can hear that and they can participate too. So everyone's learning actively listening. Everyone can do it when you have family game night because it's amazing how many things come out while you're playing games that don't come out at other times. So amongst all the laughter, actively listen. And certainly in those last 10 or 15 minutes before they go to sleep at night, and you're tucking them in the bed, and they're processing things about their day, and they've said their prayers, and it really brought things to mind that concerned them or that were in their hearts. You have so many opportunities every single day to actively listen to your children, to get to know them, to appreciate them as the beautiful and amazing people they are that you helped to create and are continuing to help create as they grow and develop. Please, I'm begging you, actively listen to your child and teach them by example to actively listen to you. You will have marvelous results for the rest of your life from making that investment in learning to know and appreciate who your child is as a unique individual. It's been really great having you with me today on Paint a Beautiful Picture. You may find additional information on our paintabeautifulpicture.com website. Additionally, you may watch me on Rumble, and you may also listen to a podcast on Buzzsprout or Spreaker, all under the name Paint a Beautiful Picture. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. You may subscribe, and if you are interested in receiving notifications, please hit the notifications button.